Joining us right now, Coach Reed Maltbie from San Diego, California. Coach, welcome.
Anthony, how you doing? It's great to be on again.
It's my pleasure to have you on, Coach. I thought of you today. Actually, since Monday, I've been wanting to talk about this topic, and I thought who would be a great guy to talk about this would be yourself and to discuss it. And here's how I want to go about this. You and I are going to open up a brand new club or a brand new academy somewhere in North America. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Are we looking first and foremost, Coach, at a location, maybe as close as we can get the clubhouse to fields, to schools? What are the ingredients? Some people might say, well, go set up in the rich area of the city so you can get people to pay, or go set up in the middle part of the city where you know you're going to get a good mix, or go to the poorest part where you know the kids can't afford it, you'll get better athletes. That's what they say. I don't agree with that. What is your thoughts?
I think you have to go back and start even further before that and build a foundation. Why are you doing this? The two big reasons that you want to, or the two big things you need to look at when you first start something like this is why. Because that why is what's going to engage people, empower people. It's going to compel you. It's going to cross that gap when you have those down years and when you have to face adversity. It's the why that's going to get you up every morning, keep you doing your job. You don't define yourself by what you do. You define yourself by why you do what you do. So if you're a club that's defined your why, now you have to look at your purpose. If you're purpose driven like that, and then you have great values behind it, now you can start to look at where you place your club. Why are you opening this club? Are you trying to give more impact through sports to children in underprivileged families? Then that's where you put your club is in the underprivileged areas. Are you trying to build a super club that's a dynamic learning center for all kids? Then you have to find the most central location so you can attract all your kids. But I think the problem is, a lot of people look at the outcomes first and say, I'm going to put my club here because that's where I'm going to get 2,500 kids and I can charge them $1,000 because they can afford it, and we're going to make gobs of money.
Bingo.
There's no why in that.
Bingo, Coach. Well, I was just going to say that. And that's unfortunate. Let's be honest. Let's be transparent. Let's put the cards on the table. That's what I have been seeing up here in Canada, and specifically here in Ontario, unfortunately. A lot of people are opening up their academies because they see a need. They see that they can charge X amount of dollars. They see that they can make X amount of money. Let's go to town. This is a business. I want to make money, and there's no problem with that. And I have a feeling that we're forgetting why we're starting this club and this academy, Coach.
We are, and a lot of people have lost sight of it because we've become so, and I beat this horse, but we've become so outcome-driven, but that's not why we started doing this in the first place. And when you start forsaking your values for outcomes, that's when the downward spiral begins. I'm not going to say who, but recently I've been sort of in the backdoor conversations with a group that's working on an academy, and I'm the one on the outside looking in, and a friend of mine's always asked me, what would you do? What value would you use here? How would you define this value? What would your purpose statement be? And they're working with that group, and that group is all about the why, and I'm loving them, and I'm looking at them going, I wish other academies would think this way. They don't care about the profit they're making. They don't care about what kids they see. They don't care about what tournaments they win and how many kids they're placing in college. The person that's in charge of this, and this is a former professional and international level player, he's saying things like, let's start with a mission. What are our values? What is it we're trying to accomplish? And let's make sure that we drive that through every facet of our organization so we never lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing.
Fantastic information, fantastic that you've given that to us, because unfortunately you and I both know that those are far and few between. So let's get to building this, the ingredients of this club or academy. We talked about location. Let's talk about some of the other things. How do we build this club or academy? Obviously, we have to build it with good, wise, knowledgeable, passionate people as coaches to bring them in. But we also have to build the office staff. We also have to build volunteers. I leave it to you. How do we go about doing that? How is the proper way of doing it?
I think that a lot of clubs get caught up in seeing themselves as just a soccer organization, and I think they need to stop thinking of themselves as a soccer organization and start thinking of themselves as like a dynamic learning center. Carrie Taylor, a good friend of mine, she used to use that with her club. We're a dynamic learning center. You start building out your board and your office staff and your support group and even your coaches around people who bring to the table skill sets that you don't currently have, but add to that dynamic learning center. Don't just fill your board with, quote unquote, the rich parents who can bring money or the salesy parents who can grow the club. Build it with the people who understand fiduciary responsibility. Build it with the people who can help you keep your finances in check. Because if you're not about the money, then you got to be really smart with the money you do need to have to operate. Build your board with people who can bring educational principles to the table. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out and finding somebody with advanced degrees in childhood development or education and saying, we want you on our board because we want you to advise us on what we're doing right from a holistic perspective with our kids. And then you build your office staff around thinking like a dynamic, ever-evolving, never-stopping business. You're not a soccer club. You're an organization that has to constantly meet the needs of the environment around you and be willing to adapt. And to have that, you have to have people that think like that. You're not here to make money and build resumes or whatever else. You're here to serve children. And to do that, you've got to be ever-evolving and dynamic, which means you have to have all these people with skills at the table.
And two people that I'm thinking that have skills that I believe in today in 2017 that are vitally important for me anyway, and then I want to hear from you in building this club or this academy, is maybe a former or current police officer to talk to these young players of the do's and don'ts away from the pitch, and then a sports psychologist as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to incorporate those two, Coach.
I love it. I just had a couple conversations with people recently. One, there's this new software coming out called what's it called? Athlete Guardian, I believe. Jennifer Frazier from up in Canada is involved in it, and it's a guy by the name of Charles Backen down in Florida. And it's all about protecting the children. It's sort of like what U.S. Swim Safe Sport and those groups do. And it's all about, being able to evaluate coaching staff and individuals, adults that are dealing with children, having a third-party way of reporting instances and investigating them to make sure all kids are safe. And I love that. I love the idea of, one, educating the parents and the players on what's safe, but also providing educational programs for the coaches. Flip that to the other things. If you're going to be a great club, if you're going to be great at anything, you have to stop living inside your own little balloon and thinking that's where the world is. If you're only learning about soccer and you're only reading books about soccer, and in this, you're only talking to other people who drink the same Kool-Aid as you, you're not evolving. So bring people to the table, like you said, sports psychologists, movement specialists, physiotherapists. Bring people to the table who can help you take that holistic approach at creating a better learning environment for your kids, and stop educating your coaches, parents, and players on just the sport of soccer, and educate them on everything that's involved with being a human being and with what's being an athlete. You should be studying sports psychology. You should be studying communication skills. You should be studying movement patterns, all of those things.
Yeah, you're bang on. I also would like to incorporate someone. Unfortunately, in this day and age, I believe you need someone that understands the rules and the regulations in different cities and towns when it comes to permits of fields, of gymnasiums, of insurance, you name it. I think this is very important because today, in 2017, I know for a fact in a lot of states and in a lot of provinces, insurance is huge. You got to know what's involved with insurance, permits, and what entails these permits. You've got to have an understanding how the city and town works, and you've got to have someone on board, whether as a volunteer with that club or academy, understanding these things as well, Coach.
Yes, you do. Because here's the thing. You will hire a director, a technical director, or director of coaching or someone like that, and you will say, what we want you to do is create the very best learning environment for players through the coaches that you hire, train, and manage. But then that person suddenly has the duties of booking the fields and making sure insurance policies are kept up to date and all those other bureaucratic pieces that's not what they're there for. And so I totally agree. If you can take some of those more, and these are the things, those are extremely important. Why would you trust those things to somebody who they don't know anything about them? So I think you're bang on that one.
Let's talk about an executive, the club's executive. And if, let's say it's a club that has maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 kids or an academy, obviously you're going to have to hire a proper executive, someone that has experience, maybe not so much in the game that we love so much, footy, soccer, but in the sports, youth sports industry. I believe this executive must be humble, must be someone that listens and digests, not an executive that's condescending, but an executive that listens to that club's board and academy and really understands what they need. And it's not about he or she, it's about them. Your thoughts?
Yes, I totally agree. I think that one, you need those executives that have that polish and that tact, because a lot of times what's lost is they're going to be the ones that are going to take a beating. During tryout season, during hard times, even during the good times, they're always going to be the ones that are going to take the beating, and the fingers will always point at them. So you need somebody who can handle that with class and tact and stay unemotionally attached to making the right decisions for the children and leave the emotions out of it, leave the adult games out of it. And I also think, like you said, I think you need somebody who just can navigate those waters really well and who makes it about the kids and not about him or herself. If you've got somebody who's there just for the children, who knows that every day they wake up, they're going to look themselves in the mirror and say, everything I do today is for the sake of the children, then you've got a really good executive. And they've got to be like that Solomon that's willing to make those decisions for the greater good. Even though they're going to take a beating for that decision, it's the right decision for the greater good.
Coach, we talked about a sports psychologist, a former current police officer, a wonderful trainer you're going to have to bring on board, knowledgeable, passionate coaches that care about the game and the kids and not about the wins and losses. I also believe we need to bring in someone maybe that is retired or semi-retired, or maybe that can give some of his or her time in the education area. Maybe there's a player or two in that big club, or many more, that might be struggling in some of their subjects, and after they're done that training session, can spend a half hour working on that math, that English, and whatever. And guess what? They love coming to a training session because they're going to get a double dose of help to learn to play the game we love, and some help in education, all inclusive. Your thoughts?
I'm sorry, say that last piece again.
All inclusive, meaning we bring in someone that has an educational background to help out the young man, the young girl in this club or an academy that might be struggling with some subjects. And after that training session, Coach, they can sit down with this individual in a group or one-on-one and work on some of the issues that they're having problems with at school. Maybe they're more comfortable at the club or academy. Maybe, there's someone there that they trust and they, they're good to work with.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because I think we've got to look at it, like you said, we've been talking about, it's got to be holistic. And if you want your athletes to do well on the field, they have to do well off the field. And if you want them to be well-rounded people, then they need that support structure. That's one of the reasons why I like school sports, is because usually there's study tables that are instituted, and the school offers up individuals like counselors and tutors to help keep them focused on the fact that they are student athletes, not athletes first. So I would totally agree with you. And I would also agree that you want somebody in there just as an advisor to the coaches. I mean, if this is the person that understands the educational process, this is a great resource for coaches, again, to step outside their comfort zone and say, hey, I'm not getting through to these kids, and they're 8, and I don't think I'm an 8-year-old. Can you help me? And that person can say, yes, let me explain to you from a child development perspective, from an educational or classroom perspective, here's some things that can help you get through to those kids and connect with them better.
Oh, I love that. I'm also thinking, as I put this together tonight, of bringing in a former national ref and talking to the young boys and the young girls and the coaches and making them understand that they're human beings. They're going to make mistakes, and here's the do's and don'ts, and discuss it and talk about it, and maybe bring up stories that have happened or situations that they can discuss. You don't want to find yourself in this situation, or don't do this. What about that, Coach?
Yes, I actually worked for a club that one of our primary board members was the head of referees for the area, and it was great to have his mind, his perspective, and also him as a resource for our club. And one of the things he was always trying to combat was the continuous and just voluminous attrition of referees. We're losing them like crazy because of the way we treat them. And so he would talk to the coaches about how we treat the referees. He would train the younger referees. He would talk to the parents at our parent meetings about how we treat the referees. It was great to have that perspective. So I totally agree with you there.
One more thing, and then we'll let you go, Coach. I also believe it's vitally important, as we discussed, all the components of building this club or an academy, is that someone is in charge of volunteering all the players' time and coaches to the local charity of their choice in that city or town, whether it's the food bank, whether it's the local hospital, whatever it is, to make them understand, yes, the game is wonderful, we love the game, but here are some that maybe can't enjoy that game or for whatever reason need an extra hand. How important is that as well?
I think it's great. That's why I like Will Cromack with the Play Better and everything. I like organizations that connect a piece of the servant attitude to what the kids are doing. Because if you look at great organizations with beautiful cultures like the New Zealand All Blacks, a winning culture that it's transcended the people on the field, and they continue to have this great culture, it's because there's a servant attitude in there. It's what can I do to help others? Because if they succeed, we succeed. It's the whole Rudyard Kipling, for the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. And when you teach kids at a younger age that there's a greater reward than wins or goals scored, then you're teaching them to have that that intrinsic motivation to do good in the world and to do good in what they do, and that's why I like Play Better. And I think it'd be brilliant if more organizations. There are a couple in Cincinnati that did this. They would do canned food drives, and they would do fundraising during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they would collect stuff to send to other countries, shoes and things like that. And I love that because the kids get a sense of belonging to something bigger than themselves, and they also get a perspective. This is just a sport, and in the end, am I a better person for the time spent on the field? And can I serve others in my capacity?
Absolutely. And the picture that comes to mind right now, Coach Reed, is simply this. And I think the game was in Columbus, if I'm not mistaken. USA, Mexico, World Cup qualifying game. We know all the politics and all the garbage surrounding that leading up to that game. The Americans, with our captain here in TFC land, Michael Bradley, and the Mexicans all united, all shoulder over shoulder, making a statement that, no game, no wins or losses more important than us as human beings. I love that.
I do too, and if you've seen recently the pride stuff, Orlando City, not a mandate from the city. It was not a mandate from the team or the MLS, but the fans chose to create the tifo of the pride flag. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is it for us to make a statement that, yes, this is a game, but we have a chance to use this game to actually transform lives in a positive way.
Outstanding. Coach, it's always a pleasure having you on. It's a chess match. You're a breath of fresh air. Every time you come on, you bring a lot to the table. Thank you so much again for making time. As we let you go, what are you working on, and where can people follow you?
As always, Coach_Reed on Twitter. I've just opened up my Facebook page. If you look up Coach Reed Echoes Beyond the Game, you can find me there. I'm actually doing some Reed Rages lately, which is where I get on and rant about how I feel about things that are happening in the esports world. And so you can search for me on Facebook. I'm with Changing the Game now, traveling a lot, doing speaking. This summer I'm actually doing a tour from Cincinnati, Ohio to San Diego, California. I'm picking my daughter up, and we're going to drive across the country, and we're going to do little town halls in every city and state we can, working with local youth organizations, helping coaches learn to armor their athletes for success, and helping athletes learn how to use their weapons as warriors to be better athletes and better people. And really looking forward to the tour because we're going to take our time and work our way across America, try to hit as many cities. So if you want me to come to your city and you want me to work with your organization, we'll donate some proceeds back to you, but you host it and advertise it out for us, and we'll get to work with as many youth athletes as we can.
Outstanding. Safe travels, Coach. God bless you for doing this, and enjoy your summer, my friend. Thanks again for making time.
Thank you. Always a joy to be on, Anthony. Keep doing what you do, my man.
Appreciate it. That is Coach Reed Maltbie. He's a class act. You could always hear him as he's speaking. He's got to have a smile on his face. Absolutely a pleasure and a joy talking to him. Quick commercial break, and then we'll wrap it all up nicely with a bow. And we're out of here in a few minutes. Right here on Red Card.
And that's it. Just take it nice and slow.